free, fair, credible, safe elections.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, Inec's National Youth Summit 2023, with the theme Youth as Vanguard of Impactful Change, had in attendance youths drawn from all states in the country.
A meeting of political parties.
In partnership with the Electoral Umpire are organizations whose advocacy centers on violence-free elections. Some of them here are Vote Not Fight Organization, Tubaba Foundation, Fostering Achievement of Community Empowerment, FACE Initiative, members of civil society, youths, international observers, all gathered here ahead of the 2023 general elections in Nigeria. Filled to capacity, signifying an importance to reckon with as Inec youth ambassadors who form a link to the larger youth population in Nigeria made their presence felt. A prayer signifies the start of what will turn out to be a long day of deep deliberations of keeping the peace, not violence, during elections. A message the organizers believe must be propagated to all Nigerians to hear. First was a goodwill message delivered on behalf of the Inec youth ambassadors.
Thank you, Chief. The IYAs, the Inec youth ambassadors, are contributing their own quota to ensure that that level of awareness, sensitization. I think the theme for this year's is election no be war. We must be devoid of fights during elections. Say, for instance, I stay in Lagos, one of the hottest election beds in Nigeria. And I also know that some of us are in Port Harcourt, another very hotbed, and that is the key word, acceptability of the election outcomes. I believe that we know that the Peace Pact was signed by all political parties just leading up to the campaigns. There seems to be a shift from what was said, what was signed, and what we expect at the end of the day. What do I mean by this? You hear easily the narrative saying that if political party A candidate doesn't win the presidential elections, forget about Nigeria. As youth, will you stand for that? Will you stand to forget about the country that belongs to yours, to you, your heritage? It's practically impossible, and that's the simple truth. You hear another political party saying that if my candidate doesn't win, then we're going back to June something. Let me not say it. But these are the kind of narratives that heats up the polity, and ones that we must avoid by all means, as youths, as citizens, as partakers of this great country called Nigeria.
Organizers wasted no time in getting to the roots and reasons for organizing this conference, as the Inec chairman Mahmoud Yakubu, who is represented here, reels out why the youths must see their importance in this transition.
I attended the Federal Executive Council on Wednesday. This just last Friday, we were at the Council of States to brief the Council about our preparedness for the election. And as part of the consultation, the Honorable Chairman and the Commission and the other commissioners are presently meeting with leaders of political parties. So on behalf of the Chairman, I tender an unreserved apology for his absence. All of you here. Please allow me to first thank the organizers of this very workshop, the Gender and Inclusivity Department of Inec, with the support of the National Democratic Institute, and the Vote Not Fight group, who have always been staunch supporters and advocates of violence-free elections in Nigeria. According to Inec voters registration data, there are more than 93.4 million registered voters in Nigeria today, out of which youths constitute a little above 37 million, or 39.65%. This implies that youths are important contributors in the election of who will govern Nigeria in the next democratic dispensation. It is important to note that the fear of threat, violence, and intimidation of intending voters on election day is the #1 cause of voter apathy in Nigeria. This unfortunate threat has discouraged millions of Nigerians from coming out to vote on election days, which consequently disenfranchises the citizens, especially the youth, from exercising their franchise. Hence, there is an urgent need to come up with actionable plans and strategies to discourage and reorientate the youth from being used as political tools to sabotage the electoral process. As the representatives of the youth across the country, that is, those of us who are here present, across the country, we are engaging you to brainstorm on strategies to build synergy, on ways to broaden our advocacy for youth, non-violent, and informed participation before, during, and after the general election.
One of the key challenges that we face is the manipulation of young people by political actors, turning them into tools of political intimidation and violence. Their participation is being reduced to fringes. They involve them in thuggery, in rigging, destruction of election material, snatching, kidnapping, and high rate of insecurity. The growing threat also, violence and attack on the Inec facilities are being perpetrated by young people. The recurring incidences is compounding the security challenges that the country is already facing. This portends grave danger to our democracy and outcome of elections. This is one of the reasons why the Commission is committed to engaging young people in the electoral process and empowering them to play a role in shaping the future of the country. This engagement provides a platform for young people to engage with representatives of the Commission to share their ideas, opinions, suggestions on how to improve the electoral process. It is an opportunity for young people to learn about the democratic process and to understand the importance of participating effectively in election.
Many listened in rapt attention on the need to promote a violence-free, fair and credible elections, especially for the youths, who make up no less than 35 million of the eligible voting population, according to Inec.
And that's what I'm saying, guys.
The pitfalls to guard against in a critical general elections in 2023 were quickly identified by Yiaga Africa representative in a keynote address to the youths.
Thank you so much. I have to enjoy these few years I have in the youth age. I told someone that this is the last election that will be a young person. Youth age, I know we have youth at heart. We have youth at heart. But the African Youth Charter, the upper limit is 35. I don't reach 35.
Why knowledge? There is participation without information at no value. So when we say we want to turn up the vote, what are we voting for? Do we understand the process? How many of us here have read the new Electoral Act? I feel like I should say raise your hand, but let me not do that. If we have not, please, you can download it online. You don't need to read everything. Just go to the table of content, pick out the parts on voting process, results. Just pick out those key parts that are important for election day and read it so you are aware of the law. INEC also released the guidelines for the elections. It provides step-by-step process. Download it online. Read. Knowledge is power for this election. I'll talk about why. Sharing accurate information. We've done collect PVC, but after collect PVC, what's next? What's next? Vote. For this election, there's something else before vote. Locate your polling units. INEC created additional 50-something thousand polling units. So now for these elections, we have about 176,000 plus polling units, meaning that some voters are going to vote in new polling units. Now the thing is, for those of us who registered long ago, the polling unit code on your PVC may not be where you'd be voting, meaning that you can, let's say I've been voting in polling unit 1 under primary school, ABC. This time I may be voting in polling unit 2. It may still be under primary school, ABC, or it may be in under primary school, because INEC would look at your place of residence and move you closer to somewhere you live. Now, how do we locate our PVC, our polling units? It's simple, voters.inecnigeria.org. Can we begin that campaign from now? Locate your polling unit, because we worry that on elections day, a lot of people will struggle with locating their polling units. And you know what happens? If people spend 1 hour trying to locate their polling unit, they get frustrated, and it creates tension. We can avoid that tension from now. The other part around information, with the BVAS technology, we can now have access to our polling unit result, because INEC would upload the results on the portal. This is the first time we'll be doing this in general elections. It was tried in Ekiti and Osun, and we saw it worked. During the mock accreditation, it was tried and it worked. So can we begin that other information around, create an account on the INEC result portal? Create an account, because you need to, like how you create Facebook account. I don't know if people use Facebook anymore. Anyway, how you create social media account, that kind of account. Create an account. If you go on the platform now, you can even see results from previous elections. So that on elections day, we can all sit at home and download our PU results and start collating our own self. This is the way we also promote vigilance. Voter education is key for me, because for these elections, we need to let people understand. For me, for presidential, the most important is to win presidential elections. It's not about majority votes. You need it spread. At least 25% into third of the states and the FCT. As simple as how elections are won, can we promote that information?
I'm very delighted that the Vote Not Fight campaign is partnering with INEC headquarters on its second National Youth Summit, with the aim of ensuring peaceful, credible, and participatory general elections for 2023. We are proud to say that INEC has evolved with each electoral cycle. And today, technology is significantly being used to improve the election process in Nigeria. And all of us can attest to that. With the introduction of the BVAS, moving from card readers, we can also attest. So I think INEC deserves a round of applause for also accepting technology. The Vote Not Fight campaign is currently collaborating with INEC in the 36 states of the Federation, including the Federal Capital Territory, to complement INEC and security agencies' efforts towards making the 2023 general elections peaceful, credible, and inclusive. So far, over 3,500 critical stakeholders, including candidates, including political party leaders and youth leaders, have signed the Vote Not Fight Peace Pledge cards as a demonstration of their commitment to be peaceful before, during, and after the 2023 election of this year. And this is not just the pledge cards. We also have people, stakeholders, candidates who have also signed the governance agenda for an inclusive Nigeria. So we believe that the National Youth Summit provides strategic opportunities for informed youth participation in the 2023 general elections. Interestingly, Nigerian youths between 18 to 35 years make up 37 million or 39.65% of people on the registered voters list. Young voters a little above the age band of 35 to 49, which I can see a lot of people that are above that band in this room, also are 33 million. And that's to say 35.75% of the voters. I'm not so good with the figures, but this is over 70 million of registered voters that fall within the bandwidth of young people. What do we do with that number? This implies that youth in Nigeria are over 70 million and 74% of the voters in Nigeria. This portrays the strategic importance of youth in the 2023 elections as voters, promoters of peaceful elections, and poll workers. As a campaign, the Vote Not Fight regional partners have successfully held peace conferences in the 6 geopolitical zones. This is not running it's just to complement efforts that the National Peace Committee is also making, to complement efforts that Inec is also putting in place across the entire country to ensure peaceful elections.
An array of diverse issues were raised by participants on the floor as a breakout session and panel discussion ensues.
Jesus Christ, $4 billion was discovered from 4 individuals. Guys.
But if they don't have that mechanism, if it's truly a secret ballot system, for example, there's a Bale or someone or chief somewhere in Lagos who came out to say all the residents who are not local in a particular region, if they don't vote for a particular party, and to prove that they voted, they should take pictures of that. And I'm like, first of all, phones are not even allowed in that space. So we need to begin to check these things. The law and the Constitution actually gives INEC that power because it is a secret ballot system. So if it's that, then why are we having this conversation?
When the foundation is destroyed, what can the righteous do? The INEC should go back to elections or party primaries, where they go to conduct primaries for political parties, where few delegates come to elect representative of their parties for us. And when they bring the rich ones, they now put us between the devil and the deep blue sea. And you will tell us after the delegates have collected millions, the major minor decider of the election should not collect their 5,000, 4,000, 3,000 as the case may be. What am I saying? INEC should have a modified reform that will conduct party primaries transparently, bringing those who do not have money on board. Then we can now sit to discuss ideologies.
If we have the same opportunity that are provided with others, people who are on wheelchairs, deafs, are not provided with the same equal opportunity that others have. For example, in the polling units, where are provisions for sign language interpreters to tell us what is going on? What about those on wheelchair? Are the polling units stationed in such a way that they can vote even from where they are if their wheelchair is low enough? So what is the law that is put in place to deal with those who will fail to follow the laws that have been put in place? What about people that do not? For the cashless policy, it is helping our situation right now, but it will go wrong because I think what the people do best is they will go to the bank and still do a transfer, right? So they are only just dealing with the poor people. We should be transparent enough. Thank you.
The number of of young people that come to vote, irrespective of their political party, is commensurate to the number of registered voters or the number of young people who have their PVC. That will be a win that I can communicate, and then we move on to the next level in achieving the bigger dream. That being said, secondly, I want members of the organized civil society to be very careful that political parties does not hijack the win or participation of young people in the 2023 election. I'll say this, over the last 12 months, there have not been genuine conversations with young people on party manifestos. And this is what we want to do for young people. It's rally, 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 rally.
How much does a normal civil servant earn? Probably within 200,000. Directors maybe 250, 350. This is what they earn. What kind of life do they live? Then when the politicians make an offer, would you say no? Would you say no? This table get only one leg. If you want break and make we break and reconstruct them. So, break out. So therefore, we need to start addressing these issues from the roots. We need to have a crop of young people where we teach them how to ask certain questions that would also connote that they are trying to have a new Nigeria that we envision. Otherwise, we will be moving in circles.
Soon. So something I always often hear, especially from the legislative, part of my campaign these days has been to encourage Nigerians that, yes, the president is a great guy, what have you, but we have to really enter this legislature. We need to understand what's going on. So Cynthia mentioned that many people may vote trade because of the failure of the past government. But what do we say about those that do not actually even allow the existing people to do their jobs? For example, most Nigerians believe that the legislator is supposed to fix roads, supposed to build block of school flats and donate computers and all these things, when their actual job is to legislate, to do policies, motions, amendments, laws that actually change our lives. So how do we balance that double standard? How do we educate people that it's okay if he donates a football field, but his job is to actually make sure that 25% of what have you there is working here because of what have you. How do we get that to the granular level? I'm sure all of us here understand small. We can download the Constitution and get it. But the people that are trading their votes don't know what we are talking about. So how do we break that double standard? Yes, we know that some people are truly failing at their office, but some want to do right. But the expectation of their constituents is that if I don't see the physical item, I don't know what you're talking about. This policy this 10-page document you said you wrote, I don't know, I don't care. So how do we break that double standard? Because I think that's also an issue. We often want to blame someone in Nigeria, forgetting we carry plenty of blame ourselves.
Yeah, you're right. And you've given these voters cards to people who are going to try to impersonate voters. But what?
Yeah,
so
the Beaver situation solves that, right?
Yeah, Beaver should solve that. Beaver should solve that, yeah. So let's go to the one that Beaver doesn't solve. And the issue is this. I think Section 121 of the Electoral Act, it says, any person who does any of the following: A, directly or indirectly, by his or herself, or by any other person on his or her behalf, corruptly makes any gift, loan, offer, promise, procurement, agreement, to or for any person in order to induce such a person to procure or to endeavor to procure the return of any person as a member of the Legislative House or to an elective office or the vote of any voter at an election. You see, the attempt is made because I think the lawmakers envisage that somebody may want to say, it was a loan that I give Cynthia. They said, no, it cannot be a loan, right? They wanted to say, it is a gift I give Cynthia. They said, no, it cannot be a gift. So every kind of excuse, it can be, they've ruled it out. That's a given, on the given part. But I think across the country, one of the things I'm finding out is perhaps people do not know enough that even receiving is a crime.
Thank you very much. My name is Inatsimi Udio from FACE Initiative, and I'm representing the Vote No Fight campaign team from the South. And there's something peculiar when you talk about politics, and I just want to add to what you said. The spirit of I'm loyal. make youth sell their votes, even while they are aware that this person does not mean well for us, but because he is loyal, because she is loyal, they will close their eyes and support that candidate. So that is another major challenge that we have when it comes to vote trading. Then to some extent, even those that are not loyal, because there are scenarios where you have different supporters of political parties, in a given environment, and they know that if they are not loyal per se, they know that if you don't, this is the winning party. If you don't support this person, when he eventually wins, when she eventually wins, you will not get anything. And it plays out that even in community implementation of community projects, where youths go out and they just say, okay, you come, carry sand, do this, do that. It gets to the level where when those youths come, they'll say, no, you don't belong to this party, so you cannot work. So they are aware that this person will not actually deliver, but because they know that the environment is so tight and closed, so they don't have any option than just, well, let's just vote him or her. So that also causes vote trading. I just felt, based on experience on the ground, I should make this addition. Thank you.
Okay. You sparked something inside of me when you were saying that. Because honestly, I've heard a couple of people in my space actually say a couple of things that worries me, especially, buttressing your point, mentioning things like, oh, a particular candidate has done this for me personally, right? And because of that, I think people should vote for him. And it's really, mind-boggling to see that we want the entire nation to vote for someone because of a personal favor that that person did for you. You're willing to use your influence to also, push other people to vote for that person because of a personal favor. And for me, I think that is really unfair. So, or that is actually vote trading, if you ask me, because you're trading not with cash or naira and kobo now, but you're trading based on a personal favor that was done, for you. And I feel that doesn't affect, or that doesn't help us as a nation. So we need to actually now begin to change the conversations from whatever this person has done for you as a favor or whatever. It should begin to go into what are the criteria that would benefit Nigeria if this person comes into power. That's actually what we should be discussing whenever it comes to political issues, or whenever it comes to campaigns towards elections for Nigeria. That's it.
Please do.
Yeah, thanks, Ken, thank you. I didn't even think of these angles you guys brought in. I wanted to add, one of it could be the failure of past government, which has made a lot of Nigerians a bit more transactional with the engagement. So I remember I went to one community and we were talking to them around, don't sell your votes. And they say, we will. These guys, after they win these elections, we will not see them till the next 4 years. And this is the only time we have to eat our own national cake. And the other day we were on radio and we were talking around, don't sell your votes. And one caller called, he was so angry and he was literally scolding me and said, when delegates, we are collecting dollars, did you tell them, now we poor Nigerians want to collect more money, you're now advising us on radio? And the guy was angry and he cut the line out of anger, when someone is angry. And it just made me realize, not like he's right, but it's over a long period of time, people have felt that leaders have failed. During elections, they don't have issues, they just come with monies. And for them, this is the only time to see them. So they would collect the money and they leave. And because when they also say that during primaries, people are living with millions of nairas or living in foreign currencies, they also wait for the election that, okay, election is my time now to now eat. So this is not a good thing, but sadly, is that transactional nature, and we're seeing it. And I think the government understands this, which is why they keep the people impoverished. just so that they would continually control the people with the money that they have.
That's it.
People are hungry in the country. There's serious hunger everywhere. And sometimes you need to go to some places where you see the way people live to understand how, when we think about Nigeria is different for us. My Nigeria is different from Emmanuel's Nigeria, and maybe a student's Nigeria. We are all suffering. We're all going through the hard times, but some people are suffering more than the others. Some people, you give them 1,000 and the way they will be praying for you, it's like you've given them 100 million. And you can give Anto here 100 million and it feels like nothing.
I need it, please give me.
Yeah. And then education as well. A lot of youths in Nigeria are not educated. And education is not only gotten from school. There are a lot of ways one can get education from. Majority of these guys they use for this violence are raised on the streets. If you go to America, they have their own hoodlums. In South Africa, they have their own problems they face from the people who are not educated, people that are the street raised. And that's also something that poverty birthed, Some of them left homes by themselves because there was nothing there for them. Some parents couldn't raise them, and then they threw them out. Some were even thrown out as babies, So because these people don't have education, when you are even watching movies that can educate you, or you're reading books, different ways where you can get education, or even church for Christians or mosque for Muslims, they don't do any of these things. They just want to eat. They want to survive. They have a survival instinct. That's all they know. And once they come and say, take this 2,000 naira, go and scatter that place, it's done. So I think this election that is coming, I'm one of the hopeful Nigerians that I feel if we're lucky to get it right this time, we're lucky to get leaders that would take us to our Canaan land. I'll be very, very happy, and it will change a lot of things because then poverty will be eradicated. Education also, more children and youths will be able to get enough and sound quality education, and most of our problems will be reduced in this country. Thank you.
The youth would have nothing short of getting it right in the 2023 elections in the midst of heightened frustrations they face in the past 8 years. That said, the entire hall is now divided into three roles to make a group. Participants are to answer questions that borders on fostering violence-free elections, impact of electoral violence on voters, and the role of civil society organizations, the media, security agencies and more towards good outcomes in 2023.
So how do we set the tone for a violence-free general election? So I want to divide the whole.
This segment of the conference is anchored by social media influencer Uti, to the delight of many.
How do you get them to set the tone for a non-violent election? It's not an easy task. This is a lot of brain power. This is strategy. We need strategy. And I've been saying this. It's almost like when you speak peacefully in Nigeria, they scroll. But if you come at them and say, "Una be fool, another team, this is how you should do it," everybody's going to watch that and comment. And they're commenting to fight back. I get it. It's a healthy outlet. You think it's a healthy outlet, way of expressing your anger, but it does nothing. You are becoming the same people that you are campaigning against. It doesn't make sense. I told them, I said, you can't think of it as an act of seduction. If you're trying to change things, you cannot come in the same manner, especially with someone. We are traumatized in this country. We have gone through trauma. This is mental and emotional trauma. What's happening to us right now? So you can't come in the same way. It's like being in an abusive relationship. And then all the red flags that your last partner had, your new suitor is coming and displaying all those cards, or the family members of the new suitor is displaying the same traits that the family members and even your ex, they're displaying the same traits. Is that going to work for you? Obviously, from the trauma, you'll say, I'm not going to go through this anymore. What is your strategy? How are you going to be different?
The resolutions reached were announced and will be made available on the Inec portal after the youth conference.
For the people who to vote for, so sometimes it triggers election violence, then hate speech.
It is the hope of many that this year's election will have better youth participation and voter turnout than the previous election in 2019, where the youth fell short of making their voices heard by not coming out to vote, even though they had the highest PVC collection rate.